is a lot in a short amount of time. Almost a whole chapter in that algebra in a short amount of time, so with that in mind, I suggest you listen, but it should be things that you've heard before. Okay, first of all, slope, which is given by m. Use m for slope. In general, is the vertical change over your horizontal change. So it's how much it changes up or down over how much does it change left or right. Okay? If you remember that, you can pretty much decipher anything you need from it. If you remember it's vertical over horizontal, as long as you know, the most common thing you guys are used to doing, probably used to hearing, is rise over what? Run, which is not a bad way to learn it. Okay? However, you got to realize that there's a negative on top, you're not going to rise, are you? You're going to what? Drop. But rise, you're basically thinking up and down, over, left, and right. Okay? Now, as far as the XY coordinate plane is concerned, when you think of the XY coordinate plane, you guys know what I'm talking about. What we graph on, right? What does the word vertical say to you?
It's going to be on my axis.
Huh? What do you think of when you think of vertical?
Up and down.
Up and down. Okay. What else? What is represented by up and down on the XY coordinate plane?
Y.
Axis.
Y. So I'm going to put your Y's right there on the right side there. Do you know what the word change means in geometry or in math? What it represents? Think about it like this. If 5 changed to 3, how much did it change?
2.
If 10 changed to 7,
3.
changed 3, didn't it? Okay, what am I doing each time there?
Subtracting.
Believe it or not, change means subtract. So subtract your Y's over, what does horizontal mean?
Up and down.
Nope.
Or left and right, rather.
Left and right. But what is, on the XY coordinate plane, what am I talking about?
X.
Axis. Isn't that the left right one? And what does change mean?
Subtract. Subtract.
Subtract your Y's or subtract your X's. Now, that should sound somewhat familiar. Do you guys remember a formula for slope? Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
This is a little easier to remember, isn't it? Subtract your Y's or subtract your X's. Now, the reason they don't give a formula like that is because it does matter what X goes where, or what Y goes where. If you'll notice, the 2's are right above each other and the 1's. All that matters is if I have 2 points, let's do an example. It says find the slope between the 2 points. 1 comma 3, and we'll say -2 comma -4. To find the slope here, it doesn't matter what X or what Y you put first as long as you put the corresponding X and Y first on the top or the bottom. So everybody stop for a second, watch me do this. Everybody stop right. If you'll look up here, my formula says subtract my Y's. What are my Y's here? 3 and what?
-4.
So it's 3 minus, what's the other Y?
-4.
Okay, this is where order matters because I've picked the order by putting this Y first and this Y second. What X do you think has to be first now on the bottom?
The number 1.
The one that goes with the what? 3.
3.
So 1 minus, what's the other one?
-2.
Now, remember, you're subtracting, so you're going to get a minus minus sometimes, aren't you? You guys remember getting something like that?
Is it like
3 plus 4 over 1 plus 2 your slope will be 7/3, and that's exactly how you leave it, okay? You reduce the fraction, but you do not make it into a mixed number. The reason being is slope is rise over run, right?
Yes.
If I made this into 2 1/3, how would I know what the top and the bottom is? Agreed? You wouldn't. Okay, so that 7 means more to us than the 2 1/3, the 7/3. So you leave it as an improper fraction, right, Court?
Sir?
Is it like when you, well, Miss Jinx call it, driving the car, when she put those over each other and
Oh,
then?
no.
Yeah, that's what
if
I
you guys
do.
like doing that method, that's fine. Is that where you got the little,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that thing?
mm-hmm,
Yeah, if you wanna do it like that, that's fine. If you
Okay.
wanna write them down like that and do it like that, that's fine.
okay.
Just make sure you understand the concept, because here's another thing. I could also find the slope, let's do it the other way. Let's say we decided to do this -4 first, okay? So we went -4 minus, what would be on the other side? Over, if I use the -4 first, what x do I have to use first? Huh?
Two.
-2 minus
One.
1. So you get -7 over a what? -3, negative divided by negative is a, you notice we get the same answer, don't we? But you would get a different answer if you put like this y first and the other x first. Make sense?
Yeah.
That's why they give it to you in this form, because that, the 2 here denotes that the corresponding x's and y's have to go together, okay? But when it's all said and done, subtract your y's over subtract your x's, it's not that hard. The main thing to remember that messes with everyone is in most of your mathematical life, what do you do first, x or y?
X.
X, but what do you subtract first on top with slope?
Why?
Y. That's where most mistakes are made. They do subtract your x's over subtract your y's when it should be what? Subtract your y's over subtract your x's. See the point I'm making? And it's understandable because, you know, everything we see, the x comes before the y, doesn't it? The alphabet, the coordinate plane, how we, you know, and you've probably, all of you have graphed more points than you have found slope. So you're embedded to doing the x first. That's why it's important to remember, subtract your y's, subtract your x's, your y's go on top, okay? Now, okay, that's slope in that aspect. Let's talk about slope in general. Let's say I have a line like this, okay? You should be able to look at a picture and tell me whether it has a positive or negative slope. Here's the way you do this. And he is right. It is a positive slope. Probably because in your mind, are you thinking that's uphill?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As corny as this sounds, if I was driving my truck left to right, I would be getting higher. The slope would be uphill, would it not? So this is a what? Positive slope. But have you ever driven right to left in the world before? Yeah. That would be downhill, wouldn't it? But
Why?
if I started up here and drove to the left,
Oh, yeah.
I'd be going downhill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but most things in life are done what? Left to what?
Right.
Well, the positive slope is what? Left to right is, if you're going left to right, if it's uphill, it's a positive slope. Same thing here. If left to right, what would I be doing? Going what?
Downhill.
So it makes sense that this would be a what? Negative slope. Everybody okay there? Now, the one that will get with people, mess with people sometimes are these two. We have two other special slope, or types of slope. And here's a way you can remember this. If I was driving along this slope, would I be getting higher or lower?
Zero.
Zero.
I wouldn't be getting any higher or lower, would I?
No.
So when you guys think of the word slope, you think of whether you're getting higher or right, whether you're going downhill or uphill, right? So if you're not going uphill, it would make sense that here there basically is no slope, where the slope is what?
0.
0. Or I'm going to put 0 over 5, or 0 over 10, or 0 over a negative 2. Reason I write it like that is because when you're doing ones like this, when you get a 0 on top, the slope is what? 0, right?
straight.
Because think about it, it's, and here's the reason why. Is it possible to have 0 piece of pizza out of 5 pieces of pizza? Could you go into a place and get that? Yeah, you could. You could go into a pizza place, order a pizza, and you could eat 0 pieces out of 5 pieces, couldn't you? Isn't that what 0 out of 5 means? It's possible to have nothing out of something, isn't it? But what it's not possible to do is have 5 out of 0. Could you have 5 pieces of pizza if you didn't have any? Put that up. Zach, whatever you're messing with, put it up. Get your eyes up here. It is not possible to have 5 pieces of pizza out of nothing, is it? Hence, this is a number, this is not a number, and this brings me to this right here. If I was driving down this slope, would I be here the next day? No, I wouldn't. I would fall down and I would crash, explode, and some of you might go to my funeral, probably very few.
I will.
In SpongeBob.
Point I'm making, and obviously there's a slope here, isn't there? I mean, if you think about it, if you think of slope being up or down or going uphill or down here, obviously there's one there. The problem is because it's straight up and down, and because what happens here is your x's all stay the same, the type of number you get is like 5 over 0, or 10 over 0, or negative 2 over 0. Only problem is that's an impossible number, isn't it? It's impossible to have 5 pieces of pizza if you didn't have any. You can't eat imaginary things, can you? It's possible to have something out of nothing. So what happens is we don't have a number for this. So we say it is what?
Undefined.
So if you get a 0 on the bottom when you're doing these up here, you know you have a vertical line, right?
Yeah.
This is what we would call a vertical line, right? If you get a number or a 0 on top, what do you know you have?
Horizontal.
Horizontal line. Like I said, this is something you do, and you take almost a whole chapter to do. Last thing. What do you think you said about line L and line M?
They're
They're parallel.
We've been talking about that a little bit, haven't we?
Yep.
Line L is parallel to line M. Now, how do their slopes relate to each other?
They're the same.
Now, isn't slope, and before I tell you whether you're right or not, as I moved, let's say the top of this ruler was a line. Everybody looking up here? As I move this ruler, what changes? The line doesn't change, it's still a straight line, right? What's changing? The slope is changing, isn't it? So if two lines, the slope kind of determines how a line's kind of shaped, I guess you could say, isn't it? Or how it's angled. So the only way for two things to be angled the exact same way would be for their slopes to be what?
Same.
Equal. So if two lines are parallel, what do we know about their slopes?
They're equal.
Parallel lines have equal slopes. So when they give you a set of points and say, tell me if the two lines that contain, this line's parallel to this line, you're going to find a slope of each one and see how they relate to each other, right? If they're the same, then they're parallel. Now, I'm going to draw a different type now. Does anybody tell me what you think how L and M relate to each other?
Intersect.
They intersect, but there's something special. You guys know what this sign means?
Perpendicular.
I was yawning.
They are perpendicular. You know what that means? They intersect to form a what?
Right angle.
Right angle, 4 90-degree angles, right? You would think that the slopes would kind of relate to each other here too, wouldn't you?
Oh, that scared me.
Guys, stay focused. And I don't expect you to know this one, but wouldn't you think they'd be opposite each other in some way?
Yes, they're completely.
Because they're kind of completely opposite, aren't they?
Yep.
This is the complete other spectrum. And it turns out the slopes are negative
They're reciprocal.
reciprocals of each other. Perpendicular lines, the slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. Okay? So if the slope of line M here is equal to A over B, what is the slope of line L going to equal?
Negative B over A.
You know what negative reciprocal, you guys remember what that means?
Yeah, you flip it.
You flip it. Negative means to change the sign, basically. So the slope of line L would be a negative, and then what? Flip it, B over A. If you look at it from the other perspective, the negative reciprocal of negative B over A
A over
is a change the sign positive and then flip it. Right? What about if they're neither the same nor negative reciprocals of each other? Then they're not either parallel or perpendicular. They just intersect. They're just regular, right? Okay. Everybody get out that worksheet. Let's look at some problems. First of all, find the slope of each line. When you have ones like this, they're wanting you to use the 2 points that they've given you here. What I mean by that is, yeah, you may think that intersects it perfectly, but we're not sure. Okay? Please write this down. Now, so I would use the 2 points given to you. And when you have a picture of it, simply do this. Remember, slope is what? Vertical change over what? Horizontal change. So to get from here to here, how much do I change vertically?
3.
I have to go up 1, 2, 3. So I put 3 right there. Horizontally, how much do I have to change? 1, 2, 3. So I put 3 on the bottom. Now, you do need to reduce those.
One.
So what's the slope equal to? A 1 over 1 or just a 1? Okay? Easy enough. Number 2, to get from here to here, I didn't ask for the entire answer, did I?
Sorry.
Now, to get from here to here, how much do I have to change, up or down?
4.
Up,
2.
2.
1, 2.
The number says -2.
I have to change 2.
The number on the paper says -2.
Right, that's
So
X.
4. Wait, what?
No, you're not.
You're not doing
How much do I have to change, up or down?
Confusing me. Going to that -2.
Oh my God,
Positive 2.
dude.
No, you just.
Quiet. Remember, to go up,
I was looking
What the hell?
now, he made a mistake, big deal. Now, up or down, there's only 2 a difference, isn't there? Left or right, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Which reduces to a what? 1 over 2. Not a 2. You guys have calculators that will reduce fractions for you. Look at number 3. To get from here to here, left to right, I go what? Up.
3.
1, 2, 3. To the right, 1, 2, 3. So the slope is 3 over 3, or just what?
1.
Now, for this one, from left to right, to get from here to here, what do I have to do?
Go down 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. So do I just put 4 here?
Negative
-4.
Down is what? Negative.
Negative.
And then I go to the right, what?
1.
So it's -4 over 1, or you can just put -4. I don't care if you leave it as -4 over a positive 1. Remember, if you made the bottom -2, that'd be a positive then, wouldn't it? So that would be the wrong slope. On number 6, or I'm sorry, number 5, subtract your y's. What are my 2 y's?
5 and 1.
5 minus 1 over, what are my 2 x's?
6 minus 5.
I would get 4 over 1. You can look at it just like that. Remember, what's first? Y's. If you're so used to always picking the second one, going 1 minus 5, that's fine. Doesn't matter as long as you keep it in order. On ones like number 6, that's why it'll be good to have what? Calculator. Subtract your y's. What are your y's?
2 and 3.
So 2 minus 3, what are your x's?
1.5 minus 2.5.
Can't do that.
2 and
Why?
a half minus.
I put 2 and 3. I put 2 minus 3, so I use the 2 first.
Oh, you did.
Negative
Okay.
1.5.
So I have to use what first on the
wait.
bottom?
Negative 2 and 2.5.
Minus
negative 1.5.
negative 1 and a half. Well, that gives me a -1 on top, and this negative becomes a positive, and this becomes a 4. Comes out nice and easy. On one like number 7, I guess just leave it as a decimal, because you want rise over run. So here it'd be -1.5 minus 1 over 1.5 minus 2.5. So that leaves you with a -2.5 over a -1. Now, what's a negative over a negative?
Positive.
So your slope is 2.5 over 1, or just 2.5. Be careful on one like number 8. You go 9 minus 1, you would go -8 minus 8. you would actually get 8 over a negative 16, which would be a negative 1/2. Don't think just because the signs are different, they'll add to what? 0, because we're not adding them. We're what? Subtracting them. Now, on one like number 9, they want to know if how AB relates to CD. So you have to find the slope of that line, and you have to find the slope of that line. So the slope of AB. And I better see this on your paper. All these slopes, I want to see the original. I want to see the original put into there. Okay? I want to see everything. Got it? So for a problem like this is like 2 of the other problems. I need to find the slope of AB and the slope of CD. How did I denote this so I could tell apart which slope I was talking about? Huh? I put the little AB in a subscript, didn't I? Under the M. So I know I'm dealing with A and B here. So what are my y's for A and B? What's my first y here? It'll be 2 minus 0 over what? 2 minus 0, which is what? 2 over 2, which is what?
1.
So the slope of AB is 1 in this case. What am I, here would be 0 minus, what's my slope here? Or what's my other y? Negative 2 over 2 minus 0. 0 minus negative 2 would be a positive 2. 2 minus 0 would be 2. What do I get here?
1.
How do these slopes relate to each other? Huh? They are what? They're the same, so the 2 lines are what? Parallel. I do not want you drawing this on a graph and guessing one way or the other. Got it? If you want to check it that way, fine. I want you to find the slope. Everybody got that?
Yes.
For this problem, I need to find the slope of AB and CD each time, correct?
Yes.
AB, what it would be, negative 1 minus what? 0 over 0 minus 1. What did I get again? A negative 1 over what? A negative 1, which is 1. For CD, I got 2 minus negative 4 over what?
Negative 3 minus 3.
Negative 3 minus 3. I get that becomes a positive 6 over a negative 6. The answer here is negative 1. Now, think of it like this. This one's probably a tough one to have for the first one. They're both over 1, aren't they?
Yeah.
If I flipped 1 over 1 and obviously they're not parallel, are they?
No.
They're not the same. So check and see if you flip that one and change the sign, if it would be that one. If you flipped 1 over 1 and changed the sign of it, what would you get? If I ask if you'd flip 1 over 1 and change the sign, what would you get?
Negative 1 over 1.
Negative 1 over 1. Is that what we got as the slope for this one?
Yeah.
So what do we say they are?
Perpendicular.
Perpendicular.
What if you got the slope of one to be 3 over 5 and the slope of the other to be 1/2? What would you say?
Neither.
Neither. If you got the slope of one of them to be 2 and the slope of the other one to be a negative 1/2, what would you say those two were?
Perpendicular.
Because think about it.
Okay.
Take the first one. 2 over 1, right? If you flip that and change the sign, what would you get? Negative 1 over 2. Is that what I got for the second one?
Yep.
Yeah. But cover that up because that isn't what the answer to those are. I'm just trying to get some quick answers so we can get to work on our sign.